first apartment after 2 years is not something like the mortgage is hanging like a load on your throat. It starts to be an asset after 2 years. They see you're reliable. You have a property. You're paying your mortgage every month. You can buy the second apartment. The second apartment can be 35,000, can be 70,000, can be higher priced. Okay, but there's no problem because again, your tenants are paying the mortgage. When you buy the third apartment in that round, you have two possibilities. When later you don't work anymore, your apartments are paid off. You get the rent 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, no other deduction. Okay. So that is your security, your social security. No matter if you're German, if you're wherever you come from, that's your social security. And you do the same thing. You do the same procedure again. And you just keep doing it again and again. And the two guys, I swear to God, they are millionaires now.
That's amazing.
How do you avoid being scammed?
Hello again, our amazing audience. I'm here again. If you remember, Lorenzo as always, and I have the amazing Alison here. And today we have a very, very interesting topic that we're talking about. So basically, our topic has to do with investments, which is why we have our amazing Nadia here. Nadia is someone great I've known for some time now, and we wanted to talk about investment, how you can invest in Germany in terms of physical assets in Germany, and she's an expert when it comes to real estate investment. So that's why she's here, and she's here with the amazing coolest person I have just met. And she's Nadia's husband, and they're here together to give us a few advice, a few conversations and opinions, and they are experts, expert idea when it comes to investment in real estate. So not to talk too much, I'll get back to all the nooks and crannies. So I'll let them to introduce themselves.
Yeah.
So let's start with Alison so we can go anti-clockwise. So
well, I don't have to introduce myself because I've been here and I'm always.
Oh, sorry.
But I'd love to hear more about you guys. Tell me. I'm going to start with ladies. Ladies first.
Okay.
Please tell me a little bit about yourself, what you're doing. I would love to know.
Well, thanks for the invite. Thanks for two of you. I love your podcast and your format. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
OnlyFacts is a wonderful title as well. Yes, and I'm happy. Rashid Ademola and Nadia Rabe. And the two of us have the company Namola, and it's about not only investing but living in Berlin. Anything, any questions you have about living in Berlin or how to find an apartment. We've been doing webinars. We've been helping a lot of people to actually move or find their apartment or to take the first step here. So,
what kind of audience do you have? Do you look at, because there's a niche market for this. There's people that are looking for properties, and then there's students looking for basic apartments, and then there's a normal person like me looking for a home.
Yes.
Could you explain?
Yes, I always see it as stages, so I don't really see a hierarchy. I see someone who is a student as a potential buyer in 10 years, for example. So I always say, knowledge is your vitamin C. So if you can start basically after you finish school, start about thinking your future. What is your purpose in the next 5, 10, 20 years? If you start as early as possible, it's all the win-win situation for yourself.
Yeah.
So I would always recommend, or I start a very, very thorough Zoom, very long explanation, especially how the Berlin market works. Just to say, hey, where do you stand? What is your status quo? And where do you want to go further? And then it's very easy to understand what are the next steps to take. And everybody has a chance to be an investor in the end.
100.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess we have a lot of interesting insight to have today then. So I'll just quickly go to Rashid. So I can call you Rashid, right?
You call me Shefi.
Okay, Shefi. Yeah, sorry. Shefi is so Rashid is always easier to remember, but I'll remember Shefi now for sure. So Shefi, can you give us a bit of insight about you as well, and about how it's been, how you've developed this, sort of entity together with Nadia, what you guys have been doing, the past few years with this scope.
Yeah, my name is Rashid, but I like people to call me Shefi.
Okay, Shefi. All right.
So it's amazing journey for like 3-4 years ago. We started this company. We've been starting a long time. We have Thank You and Berlin Homes, but now it's Namola.
Okay.
So with different experience, we grow up, we grow in this business every day. It's everyday activities,
Yeah.
It's good. I think the earlier the better. If you want to invest in Berlin, because you can see Berlin is gaining more population now. People are coming from different parts of the world to invest in Berlin and to live in Berlin.
Yeah.
So I think, as a normal person, I won't refer as a student. As in, you have to have a goal in future. Like, what do you have to do? What can I put my money on? I think it's physical, when at apartment or a home.
Yeah.
Then you can rent it out or sell in the future if you want, or move back to your country.
Okay.
So
that's what makes it a home and an asset.
Yeah, at the same time.
And at the same time, what Shefi says is, like 10 years ago, the prices were completely different. But that's no reason to say, oh my God, I was too late, But there's always an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, investing in property is always a good idea. I've always had this information from my dad, even back home, because I'm from Zimbabwe. He tells me, if you have the opportunity to invest in property. But I feel like in Berlin, it's very difficult because, they have different housings, and then they have, I feel like you have to have a specific job in order for you to invest in something. Is it really like that? Do you have to be a banker for you to invest? Can I invest in something as someone who has a regular job, who doesn't consider themselves as a millionaire?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. I think, number one is to see yourself not as a single person, but you are in a network, either with your family. Yeah. That's already your first network, or with friends. And, that's one way to start. Like, let's say you are really clueless. You just have, like, a lot of people have a blocked account. They have a visa. They come here and they can just start to study, and they don't have a lot of money on the side, as an example. And that's a typical expat situation, let's say. But then you start maybe with renting a room, like you have a student room, for example. But then you put always a little bit money to the side. And then when you start, you can, for example, we have a leasing model. Nobody knows about this. But if you have a fairly good salary later on in your life, then you can actually first lease an apartment and buy it later.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you don't have the big sales cost in the beginning,
Yeah.
But you already have a nice apartment. Now there's a whole story of how living and being in an apartment has evolved in Germany, and that actually starts with a pretty late unification, or a pretty late beginning of Germany as a country, which is 1871. So if you think in numbers, that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
And most of the old apartment buildings that you see in Berlin are from that time or a couple of decades later. So they built solid houses back then, and they're still good, You just have to renovate them from inside, and then it still feels like a new apartment, like where we are here now. It's like new apartment feel. But it is an house, from a different area. So I always say, era, it's good to know how the architectural, the historic background is of living in Germany, because in that time there was this Chancellor Bismarck, and he realized that the Social Democrats are getting strong and that they are fighting for social rights. And one basic right, and that the same thing happened in the UK, is to have health insurance, to have social security, and to have a home. So that's why 80% of the Germans rent. Because from that time, there is this rule that basically it's a human rule that you can have your own home. Okay. So that's why all the rental conditions are very harsh. You cannot kick somebody out from one day to another in Germany. And it's from that time. And it's the same as the buildings are from that time. So there are things structures, and of course now these structures get softer because people find ways to go around it, people renting their balcony, in Neukölln, I heard,
the balcony.
So but that's if you follow the legal path, these are the rules, and also you cannot, like in Dubai, think about 200% of return on your investment.
That's so fascinating, because I've always wondered why Germans always like renting rather than buying or owning a home, and that's such a very interesting insight to actually get on that. That's absolutely amazing. Thanks for giving us very detailed historical explanation to all this. I would want us to push a bit forward now, because what I want, and I think what our audience would also want to know is this question. So if you were to give them advice, on what you think is best for them. So do you give advice based on their current standing? So when I say standing in terms of salary, income, income, and where they are at any point in time, or that doesn't really impact a lot if they want to buy, let's say, an apartment. So, or does it impact on either an investment or a residential apartment? So what would you say, and how would you go, about that specifically? Chef, you can go.
Okay, I think the hardest part of it is to look for the 25 or 20%. You have to pay at front. These are the money. Imagine you want to buy 400,000 apartment. That means you have to look for 80,000, 20% out of the money. So to get 80,000, it's not a joke. True. So that the difficult things you have to face to get an apartment.
That's why it's a good idea to maybe lease it for 4 years, and you start with your salary to put something on the side every month. It's more realistic, for example. And the other thing is, as I said, maybe you have assets, you have, a lot of expats have maybe their family already has a house, from the country they originate from, or as I said, why not buy something together with a group of friends? You just maybe need to put a contract down. You have to go to the notary. Notary will cost, but in the end, if you're clever, there are so many ways. Also, I think Germans start to wake up that there are these possibilities. For example, Zwangsversteigerung. There are auctions. In auctions, you can get a plot cheaper. There are modular homes. You don't have to go and move into an old building. You can also have a modular new home, and that is fixed in 6 months instead of 2 years. Which 2 years, you need a loan 2 years sometimes for the permission to build, And so if it's like a modular home, everything is much faster.
It's much faster.
So you have to be open for like, let's say, außergewöhnliche,
open for all possibilities.
If you don't have much money. So you have to be really open-minded. But if you have what Jeffy just said, the 20%, then there are some solid investments. For example, either you do it in any cities where there are universities, or Berlin. Certain streets are already very high priced, but there are still some streets that are cheaper. So you actually have to be also a little bit curious about the neighborhoods, Each neighborhood is really different also in pricing.
I think you just answered, sorry.
No.
I think you just answered my next question, because my next question was going to be, what are the different, possibilities as an expat, people would have in terms of acquiring a property, either for investment or for personal use. So you just, explain that, of course, if you have the money to pay the deposit 20%, you can go ahead. The sky's basically your limit.
Yeah.
And then, they have possibility.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And they have possibility for the mobile homes as well, where they can, build according to your taste. But I mean, with limited, limited, of course. But it can be done in 6 months, or the leasing aspect of it as well. So apart from these 3 aspects, are there any other angle an expat can explore?
I think there's a very good point in your question. Is there are actually now student groups, German student groups. They are either economic students, or realtor students, or law students, and they come together now and they do workshops together, especially in the west of Germany. And their goal is to go and buy something on purpose, not for yourself to live in.
Okay.
But to say, for example, let's say Tübingen is a typical university town. You can already get something for 60,000 or 50,000.
Yeah.
So it's pretty reasonable. And then you rent it out, and the rent pays the mortgage. And that is what we call in German Hebel. That's where suddenly the money starts working for you.
That's really smart.
And then the first apartment after 2 years is not something like the mortgage is hanging like a load on your throat. It starts to be an asset after 2 years. They see you're reliable. You have a property. You're paying your mortgage every month. You can buy the second apartment. The second apartment can be 35,000, can be 70,000, can be higher priced. Okay. But there's no problem, because again, your tenants are paying the mortgage. When you buy the third apartment in that round, you have 2 possibilities. When later you don't work anymore, your apartments are paid off. You get the rent 100%.
Yeah.
No other deduction. Okay. So that is your security, your social security. No matter if you're German, if you're wherever you come from. That's your social security already there. That's very clever. Now, the second option is, then you find something beautiful that you like to live in.
Yeah.
And you do the same thing. You do the same procedure again. And you just keep doing it again and again. Yeah. And the 2 guys, I swear to God, they are millionaires now.
That's amazing.
And they have these Excel sheets. They're completely transparent about everything. They tell you, like, look, here we made less than percent because we had to do a repair. And here we did like 10% better than we thought because of this and this development. For example, the development of the rents in this town.
That's so interesting. You know what I've always thought? I've always thought property investment is always something that you need to go to school for. Of course, it's important. Like you said, school is your vitamin C. But I feel like one can actually go into this without having not enough knowledge, but it would be good. My question is it possible to just start investment property or investing in property just spontaneously if I do decide to do that, or if anybody does?
Spontaneously.
That is so cool.
But I think that's right now.
Should I buy a dress or should I buy a dress?
Or should I buy something that I will live in? What do you think?
I think the 25 or 20% is the most important thing you have to work on first. With that, you have a long way to go.
So starting off getting the 25% of the property that I would like to get in the future.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the sales price will show you the 20%. So you do the reverse math. Just what the Sheffy just did.
So it's like 25%. I'm trying to it's just like I get an apartment like this, right?
20%. 20%.
20%.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So it depends on the region. So in Berlin, you have 6% tax on land. Okay. So that's the realtor. It's called the realtor or realtor or land register tax. Okay. So that's 6% in Berlin. It used to be 4% before. And in other, like Southwest Germany, other counties, it can be only 2%, 3%, you know, and then you have the realtor cost. Each region in Germany, because remember, before 1871, it was really very different regions, people talking completely different dialects in each region of Germany, you know? And it was really like, each region has their own laws.
Has your own laws.
In a lot of ways, you know?
But that doesn't apply until now, right? Or it still does?
It still does.
It still does?
For example, you have sometimes that the buyer pays half of the realtor fee, and the seller pays the other half.
The other, okay.
And it used to be that only the buyer has to pay 100%. So these things are changing, and it's also different from region to region.
Yeah.
But when the property belongs to you have to pay the 100% by yourself. Yeah. When it's still a mortgage, you have to have it together.
Yeah, mortgage depends on the mortgage depends on actually where you come from, what is your salary. Let's say, somebody like, it's a little bit complicated when you come from America. The interest rates are calculated in a different way. Not every bank is doing that. Not every German bank. So let's say, for example, Sheffy and I say we want to buy something as a company.
No, I think you were asking a different question, right? Yeah. So you were talking about the retail fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was asking about the retail fee, right? So what you meant to say was, so as a buyer,
right?
If the retail fee, let's say is 4%, right? So the seller pays 2% and I pay 2%, right? So it's asking, does it differ? Yeah, exactly. Does it differ? Does the buyer pay the 2% if the property is still on mortgage, or they pay the entire 4% if the property is fully paid for?
No, it's always to the buyer.
It's always,
the buyer has, like, that's your risk also as a buyer. Like, if you find out later that there's a water damage, and for example, it's always on the buyer, basically.
Yeah, okay. So it's always on the buyer. All right. Yeah, I think that brings me to my next question, actually, because my next question is the risk and reward, right, in investing in the property. Because as you just said, there's a lot of risks to the buyer, because then if you buy the property, there might be a lot of damage that you weren't aware of, and now you need to fix. So which is going to be more expensive for the buyer, right? So that's one disadvantage, not disadvantage, one risk. I think there are other risks as well. Of course, I'm not the expert here on it. So, you guys should, let us know what, I mean, you can tell us the risk and, Shafi can tell us the rewards.
So the risk is not so high because, there are, again, rules like the notary has to check that there's not suddenly an auntie coming, from the seller and saying, oh no, this also belongs to me, So he really has to check the land register that everything is okay. Number one. Number two is that if there are any damages, the seller has to tell you. So it cannot be secret damage. Okay. Something can occur later. Let's say there's a windy day and the roof comes off, but it's not like here that the roof comes off easily. There are so many standards about how to build a house. This is why the permission to build the house is very hard to get. So there are so many standards and rules that all the basics will work.
It's why I also love German properties as well, because it's also similar to what we do in Nigeria. Specifically, we build us with cement, with sand, we mold the entire building, we do good roofing. So unlike, in America where a lot of the houses are built from wood, and, for me, honestly, it's too expensive to own a house that is built with wood. And then when you have one windy day or one, or one tornado, it takes away your entire property and your entire life savings. Yeah. So, on that, so Shafi, can you tell us what are the rewards of, owning and investing?
That when you pay 20% finish, and the rent start paying itself. By you or by the tenant. Okay. If you are there, you have to pay your tenant of your rent by yourself. Normally. Yeah. Then if you are paying it, that means you are paying for your own house.
Exactly.
Moreover, if you are not there, if you tenant there, then they will pay for you as well. You still pay. So those are the rewards. And after pay off, then you own your property by yourself.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. I mean, it's kind of like if I own the property, let's say I'm renting an apartment in BT, I'm paying like 1,700 euros. So I mean, if you're putting that into your mortgage, I think it's really good because over time
you're working for yourself.
Exactly. Because in a year that's almost 30 grand or 20 something grand that you can be paying to your property.
25% as a big deal. When you have it, then the way are open for you to do whatever you want to.
The door opens.
So I have a few more questions, but I don't know. Alison, do you have questions?
To be honest, I'm actually enjoying this.
Yeah, I know. It's why so many questions are popping up in my head.
I think I've already asked what I would find, but I think I will ask you later on. But I'll go for it.
Oh no! You can ask now. It's we can talk about.
No, because earlier on we were talking about the guest house.
Oh, you want to have a private conversation? Okay, guys. I didn't know. I think Alison, she's in business more than she wants to talk about.
I'm talking about investment, man. I'm talking about future.
Yeah. So I don't know if we also introduced as well, guys. They also, Nadia. They also have their own podcast, Nadia and Shafi. They have their podcast as well. They have website, obviously. You can also follow them on social media on the platform. We would also share those information, after the show and underneath the description box. So you can always reach out to them. I think it's very efficient and very nice to be able to have you guys here to talk to the expats, living in Berlin, because sometimes people don't have this information. So that's the reason why we're hosting the OnlyFacts podcast, to give people information, to have decided conversation, interesting conversation. Bringing experts to talk to other people. So, and again, hey, owning a property and investing, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be, you can be whomever you are, basically, and you'll be able to.
And you can own a property.
You can own a property and invest as well.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about, because earlier on before, when I got here, we were talking about the guest house. I don't know if I'm too early or if I can speak about it. If you don't mind, because you were talking about it, I want to know what it is, what it's about, because we were talking about a guest house that they have or they're renting out, etc. Could we go into depth about it? You did mention about the name, right? Exactly.
Guest house is about guest parents.
So it's a guest parent. So
guest parent when like Nigeria said.
Yeah.
There's some students that they do come every year
Yeah.
from Norway, from different parts of the country, maybe Italy, to study in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So they need a guest friend to stay with, you know?
Okay.
Like you have 5 rooms now, there's spare room, you don't use, you are not using this room. So you can just keep the student there. Then they pay for the food for 1 year. You have to go from yours, then they learn the language from you as well.
Also, it's like a cultural exchange, but it's more or less like you still pay.
This one part of the guest house, I think she can explain the rest.
Yeah. So that's what Shafi just said is a perfect example. That's actually a project we've been doing for 10 years, is the cultural exchange.
Oh, amazing.
But it also helps. I mean, just look, what do parents do if they rent a house for a fairly good price and then their own kids move out? You know, do they go to a smaller apartment, in brackets, which now costs more than their big apartments nowadays, you know, with the new contract? Or do they rather have guests, you know, and to keep them, you know, alive and open-minded and active? And I think that's a good solution.
That's so awesome, because there've been a lot of Zimbabweans that come in and they want to study. They do their masters or they do their degrees or bachelors, and they're always looking for property, and that's always been a very difficult challenge. The main thing that people struggle with is looking for property here. So good to know. So next time there is somebody from Zimbabwe or someone or Southern Africa, whatever the case is, we're able to refer them to you.
For example, yes. Or I also know other colleagues, other agents.
Oh, that is
I know
perfect.
like 100 guest parents in Berlin, you know.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh, that's
I wish I knew before.
Oh, well, so amazing. Yeah, I know. So, you know, so now my next question is, you know, basically, you know, you've been working with, you know, with people and clients for a long time. You know, so, in case you don't know, you know, I met Nadia through similar situations, and she was really super nice and very professional in handling my situation. So that's why I thought, or I figured it would be very, very important for me to be able to share that with other people as well. And also be able to patronize our platform, our business as well. Because I am one of the success story. And we were also talking about Franklin initially as well. Franklin is my friend here. He's also one as well. So, you know, so we just, you know, so apart from using, you know, me as an example, of course, obviously, can you just give us some sort of, visibility or, you know, a bit of how you've also helped other expats in terms of buying, you know, in terms of leasing, in terms of, you know, this guest house experience as well.
Yeah, so I just want to go back to 2 points actually. One is very good. One is what you were asking is like, do you need to study this kind of thing? I think it's really about as only facts. Be interested, read the newspapers. You know, keep being on the current news about these things, and then you learn. The more, the better, you know.
I have a question.
Yes, and the other thing that you were saying is, to be bold, to be brave, and I really love that it's your success story, because you were bold and you said, I want to go for it, you know. You know, change your frame of thinking. You know, why can I not get a property maybe in the next couple of years, you know? However, it also has changed. So if I start searching with somebody and he or she says, I want to rent an apartment, then I say, let's look at all the possibilities. So we look at the rental market. You have to have a very good application, and you are competing with 200 people for one apartment. Okay. If you want to go for leasing or owning, suddenly there's only 10 people looking in the apartment. They're not looking at the apartment all at the same time, you know? And that's a totally different story. So
awesome. Can I ask a silly question?
Yes, please.
How do you avoid being scammed? there's just always like, you know, there are people that want to make you pay 6,000 euros.
Oh, okay. Scammed as a tenant. Yeah.
As a tenant.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, seems like, I think this is advice that a lot of people need to know, because people are getting scammed out there because they're like, you have to pay this money. And then how do people identify that this person is not really good with their intentions? I feel like it's very important for people to know this, because people are crying. Money is a sensitive issue, right?
Right.
Sorry, before you answer that, Nadia, guys, this is why we're introducing you to Nadia, so you don't get scammed.
Right.
So just reach out to Nadia and Sheffy, and you wouldn't get scammed.
Yeah.
Right?
Seriously, I had 2 cases. One was sort of the aftermath. Somebody just disappeared. Basically, his roommate disappeared.
Oh my!
So yeah,
Sandro as well.
And Sandro, he came here, and the apartment wasn't there. Okay. So
Christ.
And he's a dear friend of ours, and we got a room for him. So, basically, I said, look at their website. Like, if I had known him before, you know, I just look at their website. This is a picture from Los Angeles, not from Berlin, you know, or, you know, go to North Data, you know, and check if the company really exists. And if you feel, you don't want to pay, upfront, like a 4-digit or 5-digit number, first come to Airbnb or a hotel, look at the place, because in Germany, if it's an unfurnished place, the rule is that the tenant has to see the apartment before he or she signs. Pays. Then,
okay.
And then you go through the process, your application. They also have to see that you're not a scam. People are very, very afraid of that as well. You know, we call it the no-mates. People coming in and they just don't leave anymore. You know, it also happens. So, so it's from 2 sides.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
No, sorry, I had to ask that because you know.
Yeah, no, that was a very important question.
And actually, I mean, there's also insurances for these kind of things.
Yeah, for these kind of things. All right, cool. Well, I'm getting so much knowledge that I didn't know about before now. So just on my next question, right? Sheffy, I think I'll direct this to you. So, well, you know, as an expat, as a professional, basically, in his field, what do you think are the biggest challenges in real estate? And how can, you know, I kind of need another person like myself or, you know, or Alison navigate all of these hurdles and these challenges, you know, to get the property and to own an investment in Berlin or in Germany in general?
Like I said before, to me, the only challenge I see is just the money.
Okay.
The money challenges you have to face. Right. When you have the money, I think the door is open for you.
All right. So all I need to do is
just the money. I know the right person.
Like
our company.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. So you've had all we need to do now is we need to start hustling and get the money, and then we can go meet him.
Just this 20%
and
it's a good. Amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. And get, you know, have an idea of the general rules. You know, stay curious.
The paperwork.
Yeah, because things are also changing. For example, if I was if I was renting an apartment in Berlin in the 80s. Long time ago, before you were even born. But let's say in the 80s, there you had to pay everything. The realtor could take a fee from you, the deposit plus the first rent. It's easily 10,000 marks, Deutsche Marks at the time, or euros later, you know. But now, for example, you don't pay a realtor as the person who rents. So that rule has changed.
It's changed.
Okay.
So rules change also, you know.
Yeah. Honestly, that brings me to my next question, because my next question was going to be, you know, what are the trends, you know, and what are stuff, you know, how can people get new information, and what are the trends they need to keep an eye on in terms of how, how it develops, how owning a property, renting a property, leasing develops, and what they need to, to be akin for when I mean akin, like, getting information about in terms of having that information as a new person going into that market. So what are the trends, or what do you think they should always get information from?
There is a new trend actually, which is interesting, is ETFs or a crowd investment, for example. So if you say, I don't want to go into this risk from the beginning to get a whole apartment in my name, you can also get shares, and you get the feeling for real estate. And for example, I've been working also with female startups, or FinMarie is one of them, and they actually teach people how to do finances, because in school in Germany you don't learn finances, and especially women. We don't know about finances normally, right?
That, because I have no idea.
I think it's interesting, because as someone who works in finance, I was also going to mention that as well. To be honest, is I know of a few companies that do that crowdfunding, where they source crowdfund to be able to buy properties and apartments owned by multiple people, and then of course when they get like the monthly payment, it's then dispersed between all of these people as well. So that's also very interesting. I mean, I've never really thought about that, because for me, I'm always like, I want to do it myself, but I think there's also a good way for people to like get gradual step into the field, and now you feel into that scope as well. That's super interesting.
And never think that everything is set in stone. Like banks are changing as well, Banks have to change now. They have to answer also to this whole crypto thing, they have to get more modern, and so the algorithm of the bank was only based on your salary. But for example, if you're a group of people and you have a company called the apartment name or street company, then all the algorithm goes towards the security of the property itself.
Oh.
So it's not so much about your own risk or credit score. So really there are different solutions even from the bank's point of view.
In this case, you're staking the property to be able to get the loan to buy the property. That's a very smart one actually, because you're taking the risk away from yourself as an individual and putting the risk on the property itself. So if anything happens, the property can pay for itself at the end of the day. That's incredible. Honestly, Nadia, Sheffield, we've had a very, very amazing conversation.
That was so interesting.
For example, I know a buyer that want to sell this apartment, and first thing he did is like, you rent this house for 2 years. Tell you, before I sell this house for you, you have to pay for 2 years rent for me. Then after I see you are constantly paying, then I can negotiate out.
That's brilliant. I think that's really smart. That's a good way, especially for people who don't have enough money or enough capacity or whatever the case is to invest in property at that time. Because people do have other lives or whatever. That's actually a good idea. That's a good way of selling.
Is that a win for the buyer or the seller though? Because I think
just want to get just to be assured that
that you're still paying.
I can pay the money.
But it's not a win for the seller, because the seller is the one getting all the benefits, because getting rent for 2 years before they can sell it 2 years.
That means the buyer did not have enough money, or something is happening.
Something is off. Okay.
Brilliant.
Meanwhile, it's a win-win for anyone, because
just get apartment, then you are a boss. No matter how small it is.
It's a way possible for sure.
But so just before we get to our conclusion, right? I wanted to ask one question, because we'll be talking, I think, focusing a lot on Berlin. So I wanted to know, do you guys also do these, across Germany, or and outside of Germany as well? I don't know, but I think that might be a bit complicated. But is it just Berlin or across Germany entirely?
We had 2 properties at the Côte d'Azur, but that's very exceptional. And we concentrate on Germany. Our expertise is Berlin.
It's Berlin, all right.
That's the town where we live.
But we can help you to get Israel if you want, due to our contacts.
Okay.
I mean, there's no harm in expanding, right? I mean,
Frankfurt or Munich. I mean, we have our contacts there as well. Yeah. And we have colleagues. We work with a network of realtors. So, it's a newspaper. Every week we get new offers, and then sometimes it's a company from Munich, sometimes from Hamburg. So,
I want to try to bring this to Nigeria now. So for my Nigerian friends, brothers if they have the interest of buying apartments in Germany, they can also buy from Nigeria. Then can help them as well. This is what we're working towards now.
I think that's sorry. That was also one question I wanted to explore as well. It almost escaped me. So, so as someone who has temporary visa, or someone who is in, you don't have a permanent residency or passport yet, so you're still very in a no permanent status yet, right? Or you're a foreigner that want to invest from outside Germany, from Nigeria, as Sheffield just said, right? So what would be your advice, or what would you recommend, or how would you want them to go about it, basically?
Well, no matter where you come from, you are able to buy in Germany. So that's number one. And
is that just in cash, or?
Of course, that helps. As Sheffi said, for example, you need more cash. You have to have more savings when you just have a temporary visa, of course, because then the risk will be split between the mortgage will not be that high. And on the other hand, your property is also a security for the bank. Yeah. As I just said. So that's, it plays out. That's why you cannot say, here's the stamp for everybody. It's the same. It's very individual. And this is why we take a lot of time first sorting out if somebody really has the stamina, because you have to have the stamina also to keep paying and not, jump on the boat and then I'm going to sell it after a couple months and then I'm going to buy this and this and this. If you do that, then you're just losing money.
Yeah, you just have to think
you have to think 10 years ahead, then everything is fine. So,
awesome. So that's brilliant.
Great. Amazing. Well, I think that's all of my questions for today.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any other questions.
No, I'm good. I really learned a lot from this topic. I really learned a lot. So I've always also thought about going into property, something interesting personally. So maybe we could talk and keep in touch. Yeah. Definitely. I have a question regarding numbers and being specific for someone who wants to invest in property in Berlin. Let's say in a region like Steglitz, for example, what are the numbers that someone could actually look at and be like, this and this and this is what I need for me to actually get a house?
And Steglitz.
Or you can also use any other
it doesn't matter.
But let's go into depth. So I'm not going to give you the short answer, but the long answer. So Steglitz used to be very residential. Now Steglitz is part of Schöneberg and Steglitz, Schöneberg in Friedenau. And so it's getting more hip now, and the prices are also rising. So a new build can easily go from 8,000 plus, per square meter. And if you look at Schöneberg, 10 years ago, I know somebody who bought a one-room studio for something like 60,000 euros. And now he could sell it easily for triple the price. So the prices were very dynamic at some point in Berlin, because we were 3 million people back then. Now we are almost 4 million. So it's very dynamic, especially in sought after neighborhoods like Steglitz. But then if you go into a more quiet street and it's not completely renovated, or it's ground floor, or it's fourth floor without elevator, it's good for your fitness. Then you can get something easily for 4,000 euros per square meter. So basically, you to start with a reasonable number is between 120 and 200,000 for a small apartment is possible.
Okay.
Which, if we take now the leasing process with the company owner, can correlate to 900 euros per month in the beginning.
Okay. So
not bad,
which is affordable. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So just
one studio apartment.
Yes, one studio or two small rooms.
Or two small rooms. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just to break that down and give it like as a whole. So let's say as a regular person, I want to start saving for an apartment I want to get, right? So you just mentioned an average price in Steglitz or Schöneberg or now between 120 to 150,000. So and I need to save the 20% for my initial deposit. So basically, I need to be trying to save something between 25,000-30,000 in that range, so I can get a property.
Yes.
All right.
And that's because Berlin is very popular, and it's a city everybody wants to move to. If you want to start more humble, you can go to a small university. We call it C-Lager because there's A league, A location or B location and C location. And there could be, like a small university town in East Germany, and it will develop because of the university. More and more people are coming. Leipzig is a very good example. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Awesome.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for that as well.
Very informative.
Very, very.
I hope a lot of you guys can take this with you and you learn one or two things from this. Thank you guys for being here.
You were wonderful host. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll have you again next time. If you guys
for sure.
decide to invest in something else. But yeah, awesome. Guys, calling it out from OnlyFacts Studio. My guests and my co-hosts.
So just before we go, sorry to cut it. Just before we go, it's not a question. It's not a question. I would just appreciate if you guys can give final words or final advice or encouragement or expat intuition and expat opinion in terms of to our audience and to everyone out there listening. On how to start, what you do, how they can reach you, your podcast, and just give them that overview, and then we can call it a day.
Call it a night.
All right. Okay, so podcast, you will find us on any of the podcast portals like Spotify. It's called Guten Morgen Berlin. Good morning, Berlin. For guesthouses.top is our website. That's the easiest just to contact us.
Okay.
Findq.de, that's like find with IQ. And that's easy to go on Findq, find quick, because then you can just type in your contacts and we will make an appointment with you. Yeah. But everything else we also show in the webinars, and we are also working on a book.
Love it.
Awesome, amazing.
Yeah. Y'all are so cool, man.
My little advice for you guys, I hope, is the earlier the better,
Yes.
That's
awesome. As Nadia said, it's cheaper today than tomorrow. Yeah. I think she made that reference as well.
Yeah, y'all are so wise. I like you. That's so nice. Nice to meet you guys.
All right, that's great. Yeah, so now listen, you can continue.
Yes, as I was saying, thank you guys for being here. To my wonderful guests and to my wonderful co-host. We will meet you guys on the other side. From my team and we are going to call it bye-bye.
Bye.
Call it